Jatin sir, Sandeep sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So good evening. Good evening, all the participants. Welcome to the webinar. Good evening, Jatin sir. Good evening, Sandeep sir. So all the participants, I request you to please keep your mic on mute and also please put off your videos. Whatever problems or any questions or queries you have in connection or any subject matter, please put it in the chat box. The webinar will be moderated by Jatin Jalundwala sir, who is the Chief Legal Officer of Adani Group and also a supporter of AMA as a council member and as a advisor. And I would request now to please hand over the session to Mr. Jatin Jalundwala sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening to AMA members, participants, and Sandeep bhai. I welcome on behalf of Ahmedabad Management Association to all of you on this webinar on joint venture evolution and challenges. A joint venture, you all know, is a very simple word that two parties coming together. It's like a marriage. Two parties join together to achieve a common goal, and they become complementary and supplementary to each other. In joint venture, the first question arises from how to find a right partner. It's like finding a life partner, whether he or she is the right partner or not. And for that, it is necessary for us to undergo the due diligence. It's a first step, and thereafter it comes drafting, negotiation, and executing a joint venture agreement. In India, we have seen such renowned joint ventures across, and you all would have heard about such companies' name. Say, for example, Hero Honda. It's a joint venture between Hero Cycles and Honda Motors. Similarly, Vistara, a joint venture between Tata and Singapore Airlines. Similarly, Mahindra Renault. And let me tell you about our recent joint venture, Adani Total. It's a recent joint venture for our gas business, CGD business. So today we are discussing a very important topic across, which is a common at global level, a joint venture. We have with us Mr. Sandeep Mehta, a senior partner of the renowned law firm J. Sagar and Associates. Let me introduce Sandeep bhai. He is a partner at J. Sagar since 2008. He advises Indian and foreign clients on corporate transactions, foreign investments, merger and acquisitions, joint ventures, private equity, and corporate structuring transactions. He is a speaker at various forums and also contributes to many business papers and publications. He is frequently ranked as one of the best corporate lawyers in India by Chambers and Partners and Asia Law Profiles. He has been practicing law since more than 25 years. I welcome Sandeep Bhai to this today's a very important session, and I now request you to enlighten all of us about the joint ventures, evolution and challenges. What is joint ventures? How to find a right partner? What are the points we have to take care at the due diligence? Forms of legal entities, stages of establishing a joint venture, and terms of the joint venture. Welcome, Sandeep Bhai. Please take over.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Jatin Bhai. Uh, First of all, let me thank Jatin Bhai for giving me this opportunity to address a renowned audience of AMA. Actually, AMA is not new to me because my very, very dear friend and Guru Bhai Brahma Vihari Swami of BAPS have been addressing AMA very regularly. And I have heard all his lectures right from 90s till date. And I am closely associated with BAPS, so Gujarat and Ahmedabad is very, very close to me. So remembering my Guru Pramukh Swami Maharaj and Mahant Swami Maharaj, the topic of my lecture is joint ventures, evaluation and challenges. So let's evaluate first what is joint venture. You know, a joint venture is coming together of two or more persons or entities to achieve common goal or objective, whereby the persons or entities contribute their share capital or assets or make other contributions and agree to share risk and rewards of that venture. The joint venture partners agree on achieving a common goal, their rights, role and responsibility with respect to joint venture. See, the term joint venture has been recently introduced in the Indian Companies Act, but it has been introduced in the context of an associate company, where it does not indicate true meaning. But as Jatin Bhai has rightly said, joint venture is a marriage. If a person wants to embark upon a new business, a new market, a new country, or a new territory, joint venture is a stepping stone. And India has a mixed history about joint venture. Okay, there are a number of joint ventures which has been successful. So let me first start with Happy Note. Okay, Jatin Bhai has already mentioned few of them. Let's analyze them. The first joint venture which has been extremely successful is between Honda Motor Company of Japan and Hero Group of Delhi by Munjals. They entered into a technical collaboration in the year 1984 for the motorcycle business. And then after that, they entered into the financial collaboration. The Honda provided technical information, know-how, trade secrets, and other data. And the joint venture lasted for 26 years. And it ended in the year 2010. The relationship between the joint venture partners have been so good that Honda agreed to support a Hero Group by providing technological support for further 4 years till 2014 for the royalties. Okay. Second happy joint venture is, which all of us know, is Maruti Suzuki joint venture. The Maruti Udyog Limited was incorporated in the year 1981 as a joint venture company between Government of India and Suzuki Motor of Japan. And in 1983, the first affordable car, Maruti 800s, was launched. The joint venture was extremely successful, and subsequently Suzuki Motors acquired the majority, and the remaining shares are held by public. The next joint venture, which is again extremely successful, is between Sony Corporation of Japan and Ericsson Communication from Sweden. They formed a joint venture in the year 2001 for manufacturing feature phones and smartphones. And the JV became wholly owned Sony company in the year 2011. And Sony gave exit to Ericsson for a very, very hefty amount. beside, automobile and telecommunication, the Tata Group is very well known for the history of the joint ventures. Jatin Bhai has mentioned about Vistara. So the joint venture between Singapore Airlines and Tata's was set up in the year 2015 to operate the passenger airline called Vistara. And this joint venture has been extremely successful. Similarly, in 2014, Tata formed another joint venture with AirAsia Berhad Malaysia to operate a low-cost carrier airline, okay, which is popularly known as AirAsia. And all of you enjoy the having coffee at Starbucks. Again, the Starbucks is a joint venture established in the year 2012 between Tata Global Beverages and Starbucks Company of USA. The Starbucks, the joint venture company, is operating more than 150 stores today in India. So all of us have to think that what these partners have done right to form these successful joint venture. And the first step in this is what you call how to find a partner, about which Jatin Bhai has already spoken. Next slide, please. Yeah. So as all of you note, the evaluation of joint venture is divided into few stages. Okay. Actually, joint venture is such a topic that there are so many things to talk about. And we also want to leave some time for the question answer. So even though you will, when we go through the slides, you will see a lot of generic information. However, I intend to concentrate on three areas. One is how to find a right partner. Second is due diligence. And the third is terms for joint venture, key challenges. Okay. Next slide, please. This is the generic information about the legal consideration, the different statutes which are involved in the joint venture. Okay. And the next topic is, next slide, is how to find the right partner. Okay. See, the biggest change which joint ventures have brought about is that now it is very, very important to evaluate, okay, how is your partner and how do you choose a right partner? There are few steps which are involved in this. The one of them is that whether the partner is a registered entity, okay, whether the partner is a member of a chamber of commerce or a trade body, whether a partner and for this you can undertake the public searches with regard to the information which is easily available in the company registry, as well as the litigation searches. All of you are very well aware that now a lot of information is available, okay, on the government websites. The websites of Reserve Bank of India, the Insolvency and the Bankruptcy Board, and other regulatory agencies would indicate whether a person is a defaulter, whether a person is a non-performing assets. And it is very, very important that these searches are undertaken, okay, to ascertain the compliance history of the partner. It is also important to ascertain whether the partner is active or inactive. And this is similar to the know your customer practice, which is generally carried out by the banks. Next slide, please. Okay. Now, this is a very, very important topic, and that is the due diligence. Many times, you know, when the clients come to us, we as the advisors have to give special emphasis to the due diligence. And the biggest change with regard to the due diligence which has happened recently is that now you not only undertake due diligence of the business or the target, but you also undertake the due diligence of your partner. You undertake background check about the partner. You evaluate the partner's track record, his claims or dispute history. You need to ascertain whether the partner has been involved in any disputes. What is the trend which is generally followed by the partner? Is he contentious or is he conciliatory? And I would like to cite here a very interesting case on which I had advised. that one of the big Chinese construction company came to us for a road construction joint venture in India. And when they shared with me the name of the partner, I told the client that allow us to do some background check about the partner. On the basis of the publicly available information, we undertook the background check. And what we discovered, the partner, Indian partner, was designated as a non-performing asset and defaulter on the website of some of the regulatory agencies. Consequently, we caution the Chinese client that it is not advisable for you to enter into a joint venture with such a partner. But Chinese had a larger comfort because they had worked with this partner since few years and they had a larger comfort. They disregarded the advice. The joint venture was formed, and within 6 months, the joint venture company was put into liquidation because the partner was unable to contribute the share capital, okay, for the purpose of the business of the joint venture company. Okay. Now, how you conduct, why the due diligence is so important? Because while undertaking the due diligence, you ascertain legal, financial, tax, business, operational, and the environmental risk. The purpose of the due diligence many times is to ascertain what are the related party transactions, okay, entered into by the Indian partner if the joint venture is formed through the acquisition routes. Whether the contracts entered into by the joint venture partner with regard to the joint venture entity or the business, are these onerous contracts? Are there any exclusive supply or distribution arrangement on which the business would be dependent upon the role of the joint venture partner? What are the non-compliances, okay, which are in which the business is involved into? There is another interesting case which was handled by us, where one of the American company involved in the data analysis entered into a joint venture with the 3 technocrats, and the American company decided to acquire majority shares of an Indian company which was owned by the 3 individual technocrats. When we undertook the due diligence, very interestingly, we noticed that the 3 technocrats had set up a holding company structure outside India, and there were certain serious non-compliances with regard to FEMA and the exchange control regulations. Consequently, we highlighted these risks to the client that if you invest in the joint venture company, which is an Indian company, under the Indian foreign investment laws, the obligation to ensure compliance with the foreign exchange regulation, even by a foreign investor, falls upon the Indian company. So the Indian company would be prosecuted first by the regulator for these non-compliances. So then the structure of the joint venture was changed, and what was ultimately agreed was the business transfer, okay, where instead of acquiring the shares into the Indian company, the partners decided to set up a separate company. My American client acquired 51% shares, the 49% shares were acquired by the Indian partners, and the business was transferred from the first Indian company to the JV company. Okay. Now this is something which is very, very important. Another area of due diligence which we have to carefully consider is the intellectual property rights. And here I would like to quote the case of My Dentist, which I'm sure all of you are aware. So Bombay Dental Clinic, okay, was a startup. It was operating a website under the name My Dentist, and under which it was operating clinics across the state of Maharashtra as well as in Karnataka. One of the doctor called Harshita Chaudhary, she filed infringement of a brand action against the Total Dental Care Company, and that was for the usage of the brand My Dentist. Ms. Harshita Chaudhary, Dr. Harshita Chaudhary contended that this brand has been used by her since many years, and the right to use the brand would vest in her. Because My Dentist was taken to the court and the court issued the order of injunction, directing the Total Dental company not to use My Dentist brand, the website stopped functioning. The Total Dental Care company had 3 private equity investors, and they were about to go for the second round of the fundraise, nearly for 100 crores. Because the website stopped operation, the existing investor as well as the new investor decided not to invest, and consequently the valuations came down. The Total Dental Care company had to change the brand from My Dentist to Sabka Dentist, and the litigation is still going on. Now, this is something which is extremely important, where whenever there is a contribution in terms of the intellectual property rights, whether brands, trademarks, technology, the robust diligence is required. Another area where the due diligence is required is the approvals for the transaction, permits, and the licenses. We were representing an American client which was entering into a joint venture with one of the manufacturing company. And when we undertook the due diligence, we were astonished to note that the company had more than 100 employees. However, the number of contract workers which were used by the Indian company were 4 times than the regular employees. And these contracts workers were not employed for the incidental functions of the business. They were employed also for permanent, regular functions of the business. We highlighted this risk to the client, that it is possible that these contract workers may claim permanent employment with regard to the joint venture company over a period of time. And consequently, the structure of the transaction was changed again from share acquisition to the business transfer, where a separate joint venture company was incorporated and the business was transferred, leaving the risk to deal with the contract workers with the Indian partner. Now, this is something which is very, very important. Similar to this is the post completion integration issues. See, many times when we undertake the due diligence, the clients are generally in the rush and they do not consider due diligence as something which is very, very important. But while undertaking the due diligence, you also need to consider what are the post integration issue, that once you acquire your ownership of a joint venture business, are you able to integrate this business with regard to yours? And there was a very interesting transaction which we did for one of the big French multinational, where they were acquiring majority shares in one of the Indian manufacturer. And when the due diligence was undertaken, the technical team came up with an issue that there are certain products manufactured by the Indian partner, or the which would become the Indian JV. They would not be able to integrate that into the French supply chain because of some of the environmental risk which would not be accepted in Europe. Consequently, the clients restructured the joint venture. Again, from share acquisition, it became business acquisition. And out of the entire product portfolio, only selected products which the client was able to integrate into the European supply chain were taken into a separate joint venture company. Now, this is something which is extremely important. Okay, so let's go to the next slide, which is forms of legal entity. All of you are aware that there are 4 types of legal entities which can be considered for the purpose of the joint venture. The one set of legal entities which are called incorporated joint venture, which is a private limited company or a public limited company or a limited liability partnership. And the second is unincorporated joint venture, okay, which is the partnership firm with an unlimited liability, cooperation agreement, strategic partnership agreement, collaboration agreement. These are unincorporated joint ventures. Why private limited company is generally preferred? Because of the distinct advantages which I have mentioned here in the with regard to the partnership company. Okay, can we go to the next slide, which is again very important? these are the stages of establishing the joint venture about which Jatin Bhai has already spoken. So I would like to go straight to the next topic where we have a lot to talk. The next slide, please. And which is terms of joint venture and key challenges. Now, this is where, this is the meaty stuff where the entire, heart is there. The first is optimum structure of the JV entity, okay, from the legal, tax and accounting perspective. Now, as I have spoken, that there are certain businesses which cannot be undertaken into incorporated joint venture. Okay. For example, development of a real estate where the two parties can opt to set up a joint development agreement rather than setting up a private limited company or a limited liability partnership. And that is the joint development agreement is what we call the unincorporated joint venture. You do not require a legal entity to run that. The two partners can come together and set up a joint development agreement for the real estate sector. The legal services, audit services and the architect services, again, you cannot undertake through a incorporated joint venture. So for which either you have to opt for what we call a partnership firm, okay, with an unlimited liability. Okay. So the structure of the joint venture would depend upon nature of the business which the parties wish to undertake, domicile of a joint venture partner, and the tax considerations. This is something very, very important. The next is, it is important for the parties to decide the business of the JV entity, and together with that, they also have to decide what we call contribution of each party. The business has to be decided in terms of the objective, scope, and purpose. Here, I would like to discuss with you a very interesting case in which we were involved, where we were contacted by one of the big Indian manufacturing client, and the client was in the manufacturing of valves, industrial valves. The client had a very successful joint venture with the American company. The joint venture was 5 years old. The joint venture company was doing extremely well. When the client came to me, the client showed me the joint venture agreement as well as the technical collaboration agreement. And the annexure A specified the list of products for which the American company supplied the technology to the Indian joint venture company. The annexure B provided the details of the improvements which would be made from time to time, which would be supported by the American company to the JV. And then there was a separate clause where the American company mentioned that they would provide a related technology for a new set of products, okay, to the Indian joint venture company. Now, client told me that we would like to sue the American company for a specific performance of the contract with regard to the clause. They are very happy with part 1, schedule A, with schedule B, that is the first set of products, improvements which have been regularly coming. But the part C, which is most important, is this new technology. The joint venture agreement contained an arbitration clause under LCIA, and the seat of arbitration was in London. So my obvious question was that, are you aware whether this technology has already been used by the American company in its other plants outside India? They said, yes, we are very well aware, but we do not have any other information about the technology because the products are manufactured and they are sold. The second question which I asked them is that the part A and part B did provide for the payment of royalty, but part C does not mention anything with regard to the royalty which would be paid by the JV company to the American client for the supply of technology. So the client told me that when we entered into the technical collaboration agreement, we were not too sure that what type of technology that would be. And that is the exact point which I laid down to them. What I told them is that if you file arbitration proceedings and even if you get an award for the specific performance of the contract, but are you so sure that this is the exact technology which is supplied by the collaborator to the JV entity? And the most important thing which I told them is that when the two partners fight, the interest of joint venture company would be affected. The joint venture company would lose the value because the attention will be to protect the respective rights and not to look after the interest of the joint venture company. So client evaluated the advantages of filing a legal action for specific performance and the disadvantages, and they took a pragmatic decision. They had a meeting with the American client. They agreed for the higher rate of royalty, and the American client provided the technology to the JV, and they very wisely opted not to litigate. Now, this is something very, very important, that when you draft the joint venture agreement, kindly ensure that it mentions adequately about contribution of each partner. Okay. If you look at the item 3, it exactly deals with this. What is this contribution? The contribution has to be in terms of the capital, in terms of the financial support, technical know-how, intellectual property rights, infrastructure, assets, and facilities. I did another very interesting joint venture case where we were representing a French client in the automotive sector, and the Indian partner and the French client formed a joint venture in mid 90s, and the joint venture was extremely successful. The French provided the initial technology, the Indian party started manufacturing it, and over a period of time, the Indian joint venture entity became completely independent. And consequently, the Indian joint venture company stopped paying royalty to French after a certain period of time, and the dispute started between the two partners. The Indian company started questioning the French technology and said that this technology is already commercialized by the Indian entity, and the Indian entity has achieved much more than what French could offer. And then the parties had to go for the ICC arbitration in Paris because the joint venture agreement contained an arbitration clause. In ICC arbitration, the French were required to lay down the evidence that there was a supply of technology, and this dispute happened after 15 years of a joint venture, where 15 years before all the records were required to be produced in evidence, where there was a manuals which were supplied. The French engineers came to India, the Indian engineers were sent to France, they were trained. From time to time, the French company supplied the improvements, and this is something which is very, very important for the parties to elaborate. If you do not mention contribution of the parties in the JV agreement, it will not only affect the monetary return which is available to the respective partner, but it would also affect the value of the shares at the time of exit and the entitlement, okay, to those payments from the JV entity. Now, what is very important is for the parties to evaluate the interest of the JV entity. And here I would like to discuss a very interesting JV between McDonald's. I'm sure all of you enjoy eating burgers. Okay. So the McDonald's and Connaught Plaza of Vikram Bakshi. The McDonald's and Connaught Plaza formed a joint venture in the year 1995 for running the McDonald's franchise in northern and eastern India. The participation was equal, it was 50-50. In 2013, McDonald removed Vikram Bakshi as the managing director, citing financial mismanagement of the JV. And Mr. Vikram Bakshi challenged this action in the court of law and alleged that the McDonald was not investing adequately in the joint venture. The NCLT gave the ruling in 2017, declaring Mr. Vikram Bakshi's dismissal as illegal. And then the parties, because there were irreversible differences, the parties terminated the venture, okay, and both of them separated. And that is where the interest of JV entity are the utmost important. The next issue is the cross-cultural issues. See, many times when the clients come to us and when the joint venture is formed with the help of some of the key employees, the clients insist that we want to give shares to the employees. And we faced a very unique issue in a joint venture. One of the big French company, okay, collaborated with the two Indian employees. And these two Indian employees worked with the French company for years. They got their MBAs in France, and both of them decided to return to India to set up the Indian business. Now, when the French client came to us, the first thing which we advised to them is that since you are going to contribute the majority finance as well as the technology, please do not give shares directly to the employees. Instead of that, offer the shares to them through the employee stock option scheme, so that the ownership of the shares would always vest with the employee trust, but the employees would get the benefit of the appreciation in the value of the shares. French did not agree. They said that no, we have been doing this across the world with our managers. So they allowed the two Indian employees to incorporate the company in India. The both of them, they incorporate the company. It had the French name, and then the serious dispute started with regard to the clauses of the joint venture and the management rights. Both of them wanted to have management rights and the post-management compensation if they are removed or they sell the shares. And the French did not agree to that. And it went into the dispute. The French company could not use the name in India because the name was already blocked by the Indian JV company. And ultimately, the French had to pay the compensation to both the managers separately to get rid of them and to get their name back, because that was their brand by which the business was used. Here, I would like to also talk about the differences in commercial ethics. All of you know the joint venture, very famous joint venture between Walmart USA, okay, the big retailer, and Bharti Enterprises. Both of them form a joint venture called Bharti Walmart Private Limited for operating the wholesale stores under the Best Price Modern Wholesale name. And while the joint venture was continuing, Walmart was investigated in USA for corrupt and improper practices in Mexico, Brazil, China, and India. And after that news, even the Indian government and the regulatory authority investigated Walmart. Now, this was a big difference in the commercial ethics. And Bharti did not perceive a very good growth for the joint venture after this investigation. So consequently, in 2013, the JV was terminated. Okay. The next important point is the lack of transparency in conduct of business. See, many times I have seen numerous problems between the partners in this regard. Okay. And that is where the robust information in the reporting system with regard to JV would be very, very important. Yeah. Next slide, please. The next very important issue is the business plan. See, many times the parties, they enter into a joint venture agreement, but they do not work on the business plan, budget, and the operating criteria simultaneously. And then the implementation of the joint venture get delayed. We did a big joint venture between one of the Japanese financial conglomerate and one of the securities company in India, which was engaged in the financial services sector. The Indian securities company prepared such an aggressive plan that they failed to implement the plan within 12 months period, and that frustrated the Japanese investor, and the Japanese investor withdrew from India. Okay, now this is something which is very important, that you go with a conservative business plan. Next point is the financing obligations of the parties. See, it is very, very important to stipulate that beside the capital contribution by both the parties, what are the obligations of the parties with regard to the financing obligations so far as joint venture is concerned. If there is a shareholders loan to be given, please mention that. If there is a guarantees to be given by the partners, please mention that, so that you reduce the areas of dispute. The next point is the intellectual property rights documentation. See, generally the groups like Adani's, Tata's, Godrej, when they do the joint venture, they enter into a brand license agreement where the right to use the brand will be limited only till the share ownership would remain. Now, this is very, very important. Okay. Whenever any partner allows the Indian JV company to use the brand, you need to reflect that in the license. You need to reflect that very, very clearly. And post termination, the usage of the brand should be for a limited period, and the document should contain robust provisions in this regard. Next slide, please. Yeah. Now, this is the topic which is the most interesting and the most contentious. Participation in the governance of the JV entity. All of you are very well aware that when you form a joint venture, there has to be the appointment of directors on the board and the committee. The management responsibility should be given. There should be the categorization of the director as the executive director or the non-executive director. This is very important from the compliance purposes. And the participation rights in the JV entity are based on the shareholding percentage of the parties as well as the commercial agreement. Here, I would like to cite to you a very interesting case which we did, where one of the big French company entered into a joint venture with one of the Indian party for the again automobile sector. And this joint venture was very, very small, but the Indian partner was very enterprising. He was extremely hardworking and very good. And he took the joint venture company to the different scale and the different level. Because of the global recession in the automobile industry, the French company lost a lot of money in Europe. And when they looked at the joint venture, from little girl, this joint venture became a Miss World, and with a huge business in India. And consequently, the French started paying their attention. But how did they participate in the venture for the 10 years when this little girl was growing? Even though the directors were appointed, they did not attend the meetings. They consented with regard to the reserve matter items. They appointed the proxies to attend the general meeting. They did not pay attention. And that is where the dispute started, that when you have not contributed for the growth of the JV, are you entitled for the benefit of the valuation? And ultimately, it went into the litigation, and then the dispute was settled subsequently. So now this is something which is very, very important. The points, if you want the joint venture to become successful, please follow these golden rules. Please ensure that these are complied with. Please set up the process for the compliance, because all of you know Jatin Bhai can talk at length about the disputes because of his great experience. And when you do not follow these rules, you will lose out in the disputes. Okay, next slide. Yeah. Now, this is again very, very important. I have already spoken about the information rights and the inspection. Now, the statutory rights of the JV party are generally connected to the shareholding, where you talk about the minority protection. And the another important thing is the consequences of the loss of rights on the breach of the clauses of the joint venture or failure to contribute capital and the finance. See, many times the client asks me the question that if the things are not provided for in the joint venture, are we entitled for the benefit of general law? I said no. What is written in the joint venture will come to your rescue. The law does not give contractual rights to the parties. The laws always give statutory right or the recognition to the contractual rights. And that is something very, very important. The next is the fiduciary duties of the director. Here, I would like to quickly talk to you about the acquisition which was done by Daiichi Sankyo of Ranbaxy Laboratories. And all of you are aware that this acquisition went into a dispute. But I don't know, are you aware that when the arbitration was filed by Daiichi Sankyo against the promoters of Ranbaxy Laboratory, the charge was about the non-disclosure of the essential information and concealing of data with regard to the products of the Ranbaxys which were approved in USA by the promoters of Ranbaxy. And what was produced in the court of law, the notes of the negotiating team of Daiichi Sankyo, where all these points were negotiated, and the repeated inquiries which were made with regard to the promoters of Ranbaxy, and their refusal to provide the information was recorded in the notes of one of the Japanese manager of Daiichi Sankyo, which was produced in the arbitration as an evidence. And the award was passed against promoters of Ranbaxy, which was upheld by the Supreme Court. So the fiduciary duty of the director is not to conceal the information with regard to the company. And this is something which is very, very important. Invariably, the dispute arises between the parties with regard to the expectation of the control of the JV. And there are 4-5 very interesting cases which I would like to quickly talk about. The first is the Mahindra Renault joint venture. The Mahindra Renault joint venture was formed in the year 2004 for introduction of a Logan cars in India. And the JV failed. Why? Because each partner wanted to control the joint venture. And there was serious difference of opinion with regard to marketing strategy, pricing margin, poor localization, and differences over the designated engineering. Similarly, TVS Group and Suzuki Group. The TVS Group and the Suzuki Group form a joint venture in the year 1982 for manufacturing of the motorcycle. And very interestingly, when the JV introduced the motorcycle product in India, the TVS Group also introduced motorcycle product developed by it simultaneously in the market. And there were difference of opinion between the partners with regard to the control of the joint venture. The JV faced huge losses, and the joint venture, which was set up in the year 1982, got terminated in the year 2001. The next is the joint venture between Lohia Machines and Pajio. I know in Gujarat, the scooters and the bikes are very popular. So all of you must be remembering the scooter LML Vespa. The joint venture was set up to manufacture LML Vespa in the year 1984. And there were dispute between the parties with regard to the ownership, strategy, and the management of the JV. Like any dispute, it landed up into the international arbitration. And in 1999, the partners parted the ways. Similar history is of Yamaha Escort. Again, the differences between Yamaha of Japan and Escorts owned by Nandas. And again, the joint venture got terminated. Okay. Next slide, please. Yeah. Very quickly, I would like to talk here about one very important issue, and which is what we call, what are the restrictions on the activities of each partner, and the and also the scope of the joint venture entity. Now, in joint venture, invariably, the partners agree that the entire business will be exclusively routed through the joint venture entity, and they provide for the non-competition and the non-solicitation clauses. But one exception which the parties fail to provide is inadvertent competition, okay, which arises due to the global transaction. See, we did a very interesting matter for one of the big American clients. They had a joint venture with one of the Indian parties, and the joint venture was very successful for the manufacturing of the telecom ducts. This American company did an acquisition in Italy, and there was a subsidiary of an Italian company in India which was engaged in the competing business. Because joint venture agreement provided that in the event there is an inadvertent competition with regard to the JV between the partners, the parties will sit together to find out either the integration of the Indian businesses, or there will be put option available to the Indian partner to sell the shares to the foreign partner. Now, this is very, very important. So invariably, when you deal with the non-competition covenants with regard to the joint venture, please do provide for an exception with regard to inadvertent competition. Similarly, there is a responsibility for the compliance matter, indemnity, limitation of liability, and liquidated damages. You are all very well aware. Yes, the next issue which is important, next slide please, is the deadlock. Whenever in a joint venture, you have affirmative rights or veto rights, the deadlock resolution mechanism is a consequence of that, which has to be provided for in the joint venture agreement. Okay, you resolve your deadlock either by mediation, or you provide for a share, sale and purchase mechanism, where I have briefly highlighted about a Russian roulette or a put or call option, or you provide for an arbitration for the resolution of the dispute. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah. These are some of the exit option which are available to the party. See, whenever you draft the exit option, three things you have to keep in mind. The time frame for the exit option should be realistic. The process should be easy to implement, and the exit option should factor the, if any government approvals are required, the process as well as time period for that. And the exit option should be compliant with the applicable law. If you do not, exit option is like a parachute. In the event of a problem, you can use the parachute to come out. If you do not provide for the exit option, it will lead to the dispute. Next slide, please. Okay. Now, there are few legal challenges which I have highlighted with regard to the implementation of the exit option, for which you have to take the legal advice. Here, I would like to talk to you briefly. Okay, I'm mindful of the time and we want to leave some time for question answer. I'm mindful. I would like to quote here the joint venture between Tata and the Docomo of Japan. As all of you are aware, the Tata and the Docomo of Japan entered into a joint venture in the year 2009 to provide telecom services. And in 2015, the joint venture did not perform very well. So the Japanese company Docomo decided to sell the shares by calling upon the Tatas to find out a third-party buyer to purchase the shares. The Tatas failed to find a third-party buyer because the Japanese company wanted to sell the shares at a contractual price and not at a fair value. All of you are aware that whenever a foreigner decides to sell the shares of an Indian company, he has to sell such a share at a fair value. So the legal action was filed in the Singapore arbitration. The arbitral tribunal upheld the right of a Docomo company to sell the shares at the contractual price and awarded the damages to against Tatas. The joint venture terminated in the year 2017. All of you are aware about this controversy. So this is something which is very important, which you have to keep in mind. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Yeah. Now here, the joint venture agreement talks about the expiry and the termination and the consequences of the termination. See, there are two issues here which are very, very important. And the first is the event of default. See, whenever you structure the event of default in the case of a joint venture, the biggest game changer legislation in India is the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. And that is where earlier the bankruptcy of the JV party was the event of default. But now it is not the bankruptcy. Now, even because once you are a bankrupt, with regard to the corporate debtor, the undertaking vests in the resolution professional, and then the moratorium applies. So the pre-bankruptcy situation, the filing of the petition for bankruptcy will become the event of default, and not the bankruptcy of the JV partner itself. And the another last point is the change of control. See, what you cannot do directly, you cannot do indirectly. The change of control clauses are structured on that basis. Whenever, if the change of control happens at a partner level, you need to provide for the consequences, that is put and call option, which would entitle the other partner to exit the JV if the change of control is prejudicial to its rights. The next slide. Yeah. The next slide deals with the remedies of the default. And here I would like to only mention that whenever there are consequences of the termination, you need to provide for a proper clauses with regard to the use of technology and the intellectual property rights by the JV entity after termination of the joint venture. Okay. And the last clause, next slide, please. I would like to touch here very briefly is about governing law and dispute resolution. If a joint venture is in India, you have to choose Indian law as the governing law. The arbitration is the most popular method for the resolution of the dispute, and the preference is always for the institutional arbitration. And the remaining 3 points which I have mentioned, which are very, very important, the provisions of the joint venture agreement should be the part of the articles of association of JV entity for the better enforceability. The payment of indemnity to a non-resident person would be subject to Reserve Bank of India's approval. And the last, which is very, very challenging, is the enforcement of the non-competition covenant post termination of the joint venture. This clause has to be reasonable with regard to area of operation and the time period. So I have tried to conclude and I have tried to cover maximum what I can. Okay, Jatin bhai, we will leave that. We have 5 minutes left for the question answer. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sandeep bhai. I think you have covered everything as far as joint venture is concerned in a very interesting manner and live manner, giving lot of examples which you have experienced in your legal life. And that makes this particular webinar a live one, so that story putting into people remains live. And I can gather from this talk that there are two major important points. First is to select a right partner, and for that a due diligence is a must. Either side, it's not for Indian side or a foreign side or two Indian parties. Both the parties have to do due diligence for both, either side, and that is the first important part which you have brought to the notice of every participants. Second important point is how to draft a joint venture agreement. If it has been drafted properly in detail and negotiated in detail in advance, then the chances of misunderstanding, misrepresentations, and the dispute between the parties will be very less. And so many JVs are there in India which are going on for a long period because they have a very clear agreements drafted, and therefore no confusion, nothing arises. And thirdly, you have said very rightly that you must perform your duties as a director or as a JV partner more transparently to the other JV partner. Therefore, there is no misunderstanding creates over a period of time. I think these are the three important points, and you have very rightly put into so many clauses which have to be covered under the JV agreement. So sometimes what happened in my practical life or what we are seeing, because I am on the other side of the place, you are as a lawyer. A promoter always say कि यार जीवी जतिन जल्दी कर दो ना, इसमें क्या टाइम लगाते हो, 2 दिन में एग्रीमेंट हो जाना चाहिए. And always both sides of the lawyers are putting clauses A and the comma full stop, and takes extra care that this JV agreement becomes a foolproof forever, and it does not become a misunderstanding over a period of time. Therefore, according to me and to my understanding, to the participants, I would like to say that the choosing of a right partner and drafting and negotiating and finalizing the JV agreement are the two important crux of this joint venture as evolution, and it's in a way we can say it's evolution and challenges.
Correct.
So with this, I think
Jatin bhai, there is a question which has been posed.
Yeah. I'm coming to that now. So let me see. Chat, I'm unable to see any questions on chat. If just a minute. Yes.
Sir, there are 2 questions in the chat box.
Yeah. Sorry, I just got it.
Yeah.
There is a question from Mr. Rahul Pandya. How far is necessary and important to execute NDA or confidentiality agreement at the stage of due diligence? Sandeep bhai.
Right. So Rahul, this is very important because see, the due diligence is the first stage. And if you, after undertaking a due diligence, if you have the information about your partner and you are not comfortable in going to the stage of the joint venture, the confidentiality agreement will ensure that the information provided in the due diligence is not misutilized. Okay. And that is the reason why the execution of the NDA or the confidentiality agreement is very, very important to protect your right with regard to the confidential information.
And by signing this confidentiality agreement, it becomes a moral responsibility of both the sides that they will not disclose the confidential agreement, confidential information of either side. So it becomes also legal plus moral responsibility that side.
Correct. So the next question is from Mr. Harish Sharma. Since the companies in a JV usually have a different background, experience, and risk tolerance, what kind of setup to be a part of JV, a contingency measure that ensure that there are plans to mitigate risk before any problem? And that is where you need to provide for two-stage resolution. One is the deadlock resolution process, where you provide for mediation, you provide for negotiation between the parties, and then you provide for the arbitration. Similarly, if there is a dispute is there, and before the dispute is referred to the arbitration, there is always a pre-arbitration clause which is provided, which would entitle the party to sit together and to find out a solution. Okay, right. The next is again from Rahul. And at that level, if the dispute arose, can we have an arbitration clause? Yes, the confidentiality agreement can stipulate an arbitration clause, and the Indian courts are known to give ex parte injunction with regard to the protection of the confidential information if there is a breach of confidentiality agreement. Okay. The next clause, next question is from Hemant. Generally, control expectations are always there during finalizing JV agreement. How to balance the expectation of both? Few suggestions for win-win may be highlighted, please. Okay. So with regard to the control expectations are generally with regard to the operation of the joint venture. When you are talking about finalizing the JV agreement, no one party can control the other party because parties are generally assumed to be of the equal bargaining power. And if there is a particular one-sided clause, you need not agree to that. And for that, you need to take correct legal advice, go to the right lawyer and seek his guidance on the basis of his experience so that the joint venture agreement is balanced and easy to implement commercially. Yeah. Okay. Shashank Kumar. Okay. Whether before entering into transaction, one should look for from point of view of Competition Act, whether CCI can disallow a transaction. Okay. Very Shashank is an experienced person. So the CCI approval for a joint venture generally is a condition precedent. So any regulatory approval is a condition precedent for the completion of the transaction. Okay. So yes. So the Q&A session ends here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to all the participants. Thank you, Sandeep Bhai, for sparing your time. And thanks to Ahmedabad Management Association for keeping this session, which is very important. Thanks to all again.
Thank you. Thank you to AMA. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Jatin sir. Thank you, Sandeep sir. We have Nair sir also here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Very, very clear program. Clarity was very nice.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I was listening all the time.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. And any audience, due to paucity of time, we cannot take many questions now. So if any questions further to this, you can please put it to AMA. I have mentioned the email ID of AMA in the chat box. Thank you. Thank you very much, Sandeep sir. Thank you, Jatin sir. With good night, everyone. With your permission, I'll end the webinar here. Sir.
Yes. Thank you.